What is up, Finn fans? Episode 7. I think it's 7.
I think so.
The starting lineup. Because I go off of maybe.
Yeah, because we're bouncing back and forth. It's harder to count, right?
But yes, episode 7 of the starting lineup. We got some things to talk about today. And no, not the thing that probably everyone wants us to talk about. But
Nah, I'm good. It's over. I got nothing left to say. It's done.
we got a bunch of things we're going to talk about from the schedule, from some things that the coaches said, a bunch of other things, but yeah, see, it's already started. It's over.
Yeah,
There's
I got
nothing
nothing left to say.
there's nothing really to say.
No.
We're gonna let that lie. We're gonna let it just do its thing. Or ask Reason on his channel. How about that?
I'm done. I got nothing left to say about it. I'm pretty much good on it, you know? I wasn't even going to tweet about it today. When I sent out a tweet about it, I didn't even want to send that out. I'm good. Everything that's needed to be said has been said. It's time for everyone to move on. You know what I mean?
In time, things will get squashed. People will chat. It'll become nothing. Big old nothing burger.
Yeah, it's good. We're good.
Definitely won't be watching this pod. Shame to see Doug with guys. Come on. Anyway, let's jump into
Bro,
it.
I've heard worse. All right. Like, that's okay. We were talking about this before we went live, man. We've heard much worse than that, bro.
Yeah.
All right.
And I even addressed it that I've heard worse about myself. Like someone called me uneducated and all this stuff. So it's
like, I was talking to Dougley. I said, you know how many times you could go through our videos? There's times you can find where people are saying Dougley don't know ball, where I don't know ball. And it don't matter how right you are. Here's the fact of the matter. You're not going to please everyone in the world. And then you just move on with your life. That's it.
Yep. Pretty much. So we will start with, where is it? This one. Is the NFL going to follow? Nope. Well, we'll start with this one.
Okay, this is good. Yeah.
Is the NFL going to follow the NBA's footsteps with fully guaranteed deals? Now, if you've noticed, and we will get to this as well, because this is another topic, some of these draft picks, not in the first round, are getting fully guaranteed deals. You saw Kirk Cousins. I think he was the first to get a fully guaranteed deal. It's slowly starting to happen where a lot of these guys are getting fully guaranteed deals. Now, could that be? I could see it being hard for the NFL because of how much injuries are a part of the NFL versus the NBA. So I don't know if it'll ever become a thing. Maybe with the quarterbacks because they don't get as injured. What's your thoughts on it?
So I think it is moving towards there. So, like, for example, Jaden Higgins got the fully guaranteed deal. And then Carson Schwessinger got the fully guaranteed deal, right? He was taken at the top of the second by the Browns. We were just talking about it before my live. Derek Harmon got a fully guaranteed deal. I didn't know that Kirk Cousins got a fully guaranteed deal as a rookie. Do you remember all the uproar? I don't remember his fully guaranteed, but I remember the uproar about Sam Bradford's deal coming out.
Yes.
Remember out of Oklahoma, everyone was like, I don't remember it's fully guaranteed, but then that affected the next CBA, I'm pretty sure, right? They started capping stuff, but I think we're heading there. I mean, look at Fred Warner. He just got what, 62 or $63 million, and 57 of it was guaranteed. And it's the Browns, man. It goes back to the Browns. It's all started with Watson. And the problem was, listen, if Watson would have ended up being elite and fulfilled, somewhat fulfilled the expectations of that fully guaranteed contract, it would probably be harder for people to come out here and say, yo, fully guarantee me. But the problem is that he busted the way he did, and he was out of football and had so much stuff hanging over his head the way he did, and they still threw that bag at him. And with the way it's worked out, that's just worked out to leverage for other agents and other players now. And I think the Browns did again with Myles Garrett, right? Giving him that $40 million a year. I've said this on my channel. If, let's say, Phillips comes back this year, Phillips gets 12.5 to 14.5 sacks, okay? And he stays healthy, but he's been hurt more than Tua, right? To this point. That sounds at least like $20 million to me, even with that injury history, because the production kind of match the trajectory we knew this guy was taking. So I
Mhm.
could see him on the bargaining table and being like, yo, if Miles is getting 40 million, okay, I'm hurt. Give me at least 20. And now you're like, holy geez, now we're paying, 20 plus $1 million for, again, if people are mad at how hurt Tua is, how are you going to feel if Phillips gets that kind of money?
With Phillips, going into the, like, training camp, say we're going into the second preseason game with Detroit and you see Phillips and you're like, wow, he's looking healthy, he's looking fast, he's moving. Would you work on his deal then? Because you could give him cheap, like real cheap, because again, obviously you're going to put injury clauses, just pack that contract with injury clauses, but you would get ahead of it. So say you give him that contract extension, say a year or two, one more year and then the out after 2026, and it's like 12 million, with, incentive based, yada yada, blah blah blah. Would you do that? Because then all of a sudden he goes off and he does get 12 and a half, 13, 14 sacks. You got him for a bargain. Would you do that with Phillips, or would you just wait because you never know?
No, I think, and here we go, the sticky situation, but I'm going to stay
Hmm.
true to what I said with why they had to pay Tua last year. Listen, it didn't happen. Tua got hurt, but I don't care what anyone says. In the second half of the season, it looked like he was turning that corner against better teams, and McDaniel still wasn't. I would probably do what you're saying with the escalators because, again, I'll give the same reasoning I was with Tua. Okay, what if Tua went off last year, stayed healthy, and he led the league in passing percentage and completion percentage, passer rating, and put it all together, those three stats he had led before, put it in one season, how much he would have made more than Purdy this offseason. So
Yeah.
with Phillips, I mean, no matter here, the fact of the matter is every NFL contract is a risk.
Mm.
With how physical this game is, it's so hard to mitigate those risks. It's literally like throwing a set of dice at a craps table. You don't know what's going to happen. And, history's going to tell us, Doug. Jalen Phillips has been hurt more than Austin Jackson and Tua. Probably not a good idea to pay him. But if you do pay him the way you said you would, and he hits those numbers, you look like
Hmm.
a genius.
Yeah. And it sucks because I'm a huge Phillips fan. I like that we drafted him.
Yeah, he's a
He had
stud.
the concussions coming out of college.
Yeah,
But you look at his two injuries in the NFL, it has nothing to do with him. Like you
yeah,
said, it's like a craps table. Blows his Achilles on the turf, and then Poyer hits him in the knee. Now he shouldn't have came back. I think if maybe he didn't come back out, he might have been fine because he did that lateral movement and then he tore it.
yeah,
But those had nothing to do with him. It had nothing to do with his Achilles. It had nothing to do with any of that stuff. It had everything to do with just horrible luck.
mm.
So
And honestly, man, that's what worries the most about Phillips, that their lower extremity injuries starting to stack up. The concussions ended up
yeah.
not being an issue, and the medically retiring at UCLA ended up not being an issue. It's the lower, and if he loses that explosiveness, and that starts to affect his bend off the edge, man, and just his burst off the line, man, we're gonna have like he. I could see them wanting to wait just to see that. To
Yeah.
seeing, okay, where are you? Like, are you,
Because we
it's
probably
tricky,
won't
man.
even see him in the preseason. There's no
Yeah,
him or Chubb.
and again, Doug, that's the thing. You could do a show tomorrow and say, pay Jalen Phillips and give all the reasons you gave. Okay. 6 months, a year later, he has a good season. Great season, has those numbers you put up. Doug was ahead of it. Doug was a genius. Doug was so smart, right?
Mhm.
Phillips gets hurt in the
Mhm.
other scenario. Phillips gets hurt. Oh, Doug, you're an idiot for even suggesting that. Blah 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 blah. It's because it's such a dice roll. Even guys who aren't injured that much. I know fans even cringe at giving out big contracts to players that aren't even injured that much because we've seen players get complacent. We're seeing it with nil deals in college now, and we've seen it in sports, right? I mean, remember David Boston when he got paid?
Oh my god.
You remember David Boston? That guy was,
Didn't he have like 5% body fat or something
yeah,
like
he
that?
was
Like
a bro. Do you remember how like he looked like one of the
huge.
guys at a Blitz the League? Do you remember that game? He looked like legitimately like he was at a Blitz the League.
Dude,
David Boston was crazy. It
I
was,
remember playing 2K5 and throwing it to Boston.
yeah,
Oh my
man. We
god.
got it from Arizona, right? I'm
Yes.
pretty sure we got him from
Yeah,
Arizona.
he was from
Yeah, yeah.
I remember they were like, "He's got like 2% body fat," and then some people were like, "That's not good. Like, you want some more body fat
Yeah,
on there, you
yeah,
know? He's gonna cramp up like a mother," and he did. Like, he was especially playing in Miami. I'm like, "God, you were
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
cramp up."
yeah, yeah.
Um, that's hilarious. But let's talk about the schedule.
Okay.
Miami Dolphins 2025 schedule. Um, First initial thoughts is I like it. I like the way it played out.
Mhm.
I like that like we're facing the old AFC East with the first 4 games. Like we got Colts, Patriots, Bills, Jets. Like it's like let's just run the gauntlet. Let's see what we are with this division. Love the bye, but I think we all kind of saw that bye coming when we knew Madrid was week 11. I like the end. Um I'm a fan that isn't like I'm going to avoid cold. No, because unless you win the division, you're going to be playing in the cold. Like that, it just is what it is. So I'm fine with that. What's your thoughts on the schedule?
I think we actually I think for an off season where really our only dub was the draft because Calais leaving was an L, Armstead leaving was an L, our the questions we have on the corner on the boundary is an L. I thought the draft was a big W for us. I
Mhm,
think the schedule was a huge W for us too, man. I mean, those first 2 games, you can build that momentum going in to Buffalo to game 3. And I know people don't want to hear it because I know Tua detractors watch everywhere. He's the most polarizing guy. But I'll tell you this much, Doug. If we get the Tua we got
mhm,
last year in Buffalo, where he put the second best EPA per dropback ever against the Sean McDermott led Buffalo Bills team, hey man, as long as the defense doesn't repeat giving us a bottom 10 EPA per performance allowed and special teams doesn't give us the second worst EPA per play allowed ever against a Bills team, I think we could win that game. I honestly think we could win that game. What two is going to show up? Because and the first 2 games, Doug, man, you got a chance right there. And I like how the Colts reference with the old AFC East, man. People forget the Peyton and Marino
right? That
starting
rivalry.
off. I love it, man. But you've got a chance to build momentum. And that's another
Mhm,
thing I like about that tough stretch you were talking about before the bye week. I can see us going into that 6-2.
uh-huh,
And if you come out of that bye week, let's say 6-5, worst case scenario,
mhm.
you got the bye week to regroup. And then let's be honest, other than the Bengals game, what's really worrying us, because bro, I don't know if you saw this, but Aaron Rodgers is sitting out here on Joe Rogan. He don't even. This guy is going to go to a new team in Pittsburgh and not even go through the OTAs and get it.
Mhm.
And then who do they have? Well, Scott, where we can see Skylar Thompson in
I was
December,
gonna
or
say that.
Mason Rudolph. So I think you got a chance here, bro. Usually that tough stretch, Doug, is at the end of the season when we don't want it.
Yeah.
Smack dab in the middle with a bye to regroup if it doesn't go your way, and then a pretty easy stretch to end the season. I think this schedule really worked out for the Dolphins.
Yeah, and a lot of people wanna look at the schedule and be like, "Oh, this is" because last year it was, "Oh, you got those last 6 games, man. You gotta face the 49ers. You gotta go to
Yeah,
Cleveland. You gotta da da da." It was like 56 degrees in Cleveland. Like, it wasn't that cold. Like, a lot
yeah.
could change. The Jets game, which I think is a Monday night game or no, it's a 1 o'clock game.
Mhm.
I live in Jersey. It's a hit or miss in December if it's cold or if it's not. Like, anything could really happen. Also interesting, no 4 o'clock games. We're all 1 o'clock games.
I didn't even notice that. Oh
I
wow, I'm
think
looking at the schedule right now. You are 110% correct.
and I think it's because all of our games besides Madrid is on the East Coast. Like, we don't go to the West Coast. The Chargers have to come to
Yeah,
Miami.
you're correct. You are
So,
correct.
0 f and
Yep.
then,
And
we,
New Orleans has to come to us, right?
yeah,
Yeah, you're right.
no team that we face will be coming off a bye, which
Oh, I
is
didn't know that. That's
crazy.
fantastic.
Yeah, that whole rest thing, like, that whole, I forgot what it's called. It's like a rest thing where it has the chart where it's red and green and like it depends on like the distance between games and yeah, we're like second in the NFL with a positive rest. It's like our
You
green chart is like huge versus the little red.
hmm,
So
you'll
we get
know
like
this. Do we have the 5th most we have the 5th or 6th most miles traveled though, right?
because of Madrid. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
If
Okay.
we didn't have Madrid,
Yeah,
if
we'd
we
be
w-
down there.
yeah,
Yeah.
if we were playing home against Washington, we just staying on that coast line. And a lot of the teams that we are playing have hard games beforehand.
Yeah.
Like Buffalo will be playing the Jets before us on week 3. Week 5, Carolina will be playing New England. And I know we're all laughing at New England, but Mike Vrabel, their defense is gonna, it was pretty decent last year. Chargers will be going from the West Coast to Miami, and they have to face Washington beforehand. Buffalo, before they play us week 10, has to face Kansas City, which is going to be interesting. Washington, before they come over to Madrid, has to face Detroit. But the most interesting combination I thought was funny was we face Pittsburgh, and I think that's a Monday night game. They play Baltimore the week before. Then the very next game we face Cincinnati. They played Baltimore the week before.
Oh, wow.
So
that's
Pittsburgh
interesting.
And Cincinnati will be playing us.
They could be reeling. Yeah.
And each week we'll be playing Baltimore the week before. And both of those games are primetime games.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh is Monday night, Cincinnati's Sunday night, which
Were
gives
you
us
shocked how many we got?
Oh my God. We got 5, but the Madrid game will be nationally televised. So, kind of 6. I don't know why.
Am I a sick individual for not being afraid of the Ravens? Because of Tua doesn't he have a positive record against the Ravens?
I think so. He won the comeback in week 2.
And then when he came in the second half,
but he came in and won that Thursday night game.
Yeah.
And then he lost. Yeah, I think he's 2-1. He lost the recent one.
Yeah.
It was 2019. He wasn't on the team.
Yeah. In 2023.
So I think he's 2-1 against Baltimore.
And I guess maybe because of that, dude, we hadn't won in Baltimore in how long before we had that comeback win? Wasn't it almost like 20 years?
Yeah, it was a long time.
Maybe that's why I'm not like overly like, oh no, the big bad Baltimore Ravens are coming. Now I should be, because they shellacked us in 2023. And really though, I think, and I hate to be that guy, I think the wheels started to fall off with the Tyreek drop.
Yeah, I brought that up and somebody was like, eh. And
same with the Eagles game.
Yeah. And I could see how you could say either way with the Ravens game, but it was going tit for tat. Same thing with the Buffalo game that same year. It was touchdown. Connor Williams get hurt. Liam Eichenberg at center. Boop. And then Teron Armstead goes out, and then all of a sudden it fell apart. Like, you have to be able to compete with these guys, and you need to go back and forth. And once we lose 2 offensive linemen against Buffalo, and then with Baltimore, you can't make mistakes against what. And the funniest thing about that Baltimore game is we were going into that game, whoever wins this game is getting the number 1 seed. Whoever wins this game is winning MVP. Like, people forget that. Like, if Miami beat Baltimore, people would have said Tua for MVP,
and we would have won.
Dolphins are getting the number 1 seed.
Yeah, people forget that. You're 110% right. I'll do even one better. And I hate to pile on the guy, but did you know that pass intended for Chase Claypool against the Buffalo Bills? Tyreek took himself out, eh? That was supposed to be Tyreek.
Yeah, I think it was a pass on the right. I think he got tackled weird, so he came out. Yeah, that was supposed to be for it was and I know people want to get on Tua for he shouldn't have thrown it. You got to trust your receivers.
Yeah,
it was
the worst route I've ever seen. It made Mike Gesicki look like a crisp route runner. It was crazy. The guy this guy's supposed to run a hard out, and he's running a horseshoe. Like, what are you running there, bro? Like,
and you could tell where the ball was thrown. Tua was expecting the receiver to be in front of that safety.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, the ball gets smacked out of his hands. He gets bodied, whatever. But he was like, it took him 9 days to get to the sideline. It was just so flipping bad, dude.
Oh, he ended up in the CFL.
But yeah, interesting. I'm not gonna make any record predictions. I don't do it this early.
We don't know what these rosters are going to look like. I mean, I could sit here and say, okay, right now, if the season started, okay, I could sit here and see 10 or 12 wins, but I don't know. Like, I don't know what the roster is going to look like. Who knows if someone gets hurt, right?
Exactly. And like I said, look at last year. Oh, you got the 49ers, you got this, you got that.
Yeah.
Even I think 2020, we looked at the back end of our schedule when we were facing the Saints and everyone was like, it's going to be tough for Miami.
Yeah.
And then Saints got decimated with COVID.
Yeah. What quarterback did we face that year again?
It was like their 4th string. I remember I was in the mall parking lot. My wife was going in the store to return something. My daughter wasn't even born yet. I'm listening to the radio for Monday night, and they're like, they raffled off the list of players the Saints aren't playing. I was like, oh, we're winning this game. I was like, holy crap. They were just naming people. I was like, geez Louise.
That
But
was
yeah,
2022, right?
2020 was COVID year. So their
Oh,
backup was.
oh, I remember. No, I'm thinking about, you remember when we played the Saints in New Orleans
Mhm.
and they had that kid they had just drafted.
Oh,
And he was an absolute disaster, and we just like lit them up.
yeah.
That's what I'm thinking of. I don't remember his name though. It's not Jake Hayner, because it was just Jake Hayner who's there right now, right?
Mr. Forte 620. These are technically the NFL colors, but we are working on the
We're
colors
switching it up.
because he's
Because no
saying
matter what we go black and gold, they'll be like, you're Saints. We go black and silver, you're Raiders. You know, like, and you'll understand why we're trying to
and he
come up with
said
a
Bills.
neutral. Well,
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Yeah,
But we're trying. Yeah, you can say
we're tweaking.
Ian
with
Book. Ian Book.
Yes,
Thank
Ian
you, Chad.
Book.
Yeah. He was
Oh my
terrible.
God.
Holy
Yeah, but yeah, we're
jeez, man.
tweaking with the color. We because we're covering the Dolphins, obviously, but we're going to cover on the channel NFL in general. And like Reason said, when the season starts, you'll see what we're really doing. But we were thinking NFL themed colors, but obviously they're Patriot and Bills. You know, like if you look up the thumbnail, I have black and silver, and you could be like, "Whoa, what, Raiders?"
Yeah.
So
And we have a black and gold version too.
yeah, so we're working on it. That's why we're doing it on each other's channels for now.
Yeah.
Let's get to the next topic.
I'll let you start
Buffalo
this one off.
Bills Hard Knocks. If you follow me on Twitter, you saw I had that little raccoon rubbing his hand saying good. And people want to poo-poo it, saying, this is nothing. Me, I do research.
Yep.
So not including when they covered the AFC North. So that's 4 teams. 24 teams they have covered on Hard Knocks. 8 of them made the playoffs.
Wow.
None of them have made the Super Bowl, and there was 11 losing seasons. So if you're on Hard Knocks, it ain't looking good. Like, look at the Dolphins, right? You had in 2023, you had the Jets preseason Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
They lost Aaron Rodgers that year. You had the Dolphins in season. When we started after the bye, we just injury after injury after injury. Hard Knocks is a curse.
Yeah.
So, someone wanted to say, oh, the 2021 or the 2001 Ravens were on there. No, they played the Super Bowl in 2001. That season was after the Super Bowl, and
they were coming off of it, and they went 10-6
and lost the division. Yeah.
Dallas went 5-11. Kansas City and went 4-12 when they did it. Yeah, you're right, man.
Denver,
I'm looking at it right now. I'm seeing these records.
Dallas went 9-7 after that. Then you had back-to-back playoff appearances. Well, you had the Jets. Like, there's always outliers, right? Like 2010, you had the Jets, got to the conference championship. But then you have like a lot of wild card losses, divisional round losses, wild card losses, like a lot. Even the Dolphins, wild card losses. So
yeah, I mean, honestly, and I know people don't want to hear this, but we're going to need help. Like, let's be real here. We all thought the Bills were going to take a step back last year, and Josh Allen found another level to his game. We're going to need help. And my God, please, someone put a voodoo hex on them through Hard Knocks. I mean, like I've said this before, and I don't wish, okay. Like, let's bring up the 2008 season as a perfect example. The last time we won the division, right? I think there's so many misconceptions about that. Okay, number one.
Oh, with
Tom the
Brady.
Chad Pennington praise. Okay, Ronnie Brown, manning the Wildcat is why we went on that run.
Yeah,
and realistically, Doug, if they wouldn't have dropped the Wildcat, if they could have got to the playoffs and then dropped the Wildcat, we probably would have won a Super Bowl. But
no one would have been ready for it. Yeah,
exactly. But they were so, we needed that gimmick so much to make that. And then, like you said, people forget. I think, does everyone forget Tom Brady got hurt that year?
Yeah.
Like, I think to win the division, for us to sit here and say, yo, we're going to win the division, you would need something to happen to Josh Allen. And I don't want anything to happen to Josh Allen.
No, I'm going to knock on wood.
The NFL Yeah, so the NFL is better off with a healthy Josh Allen. So
Yeah.
I'm not by any
We don't want that
stretch
asterisk,
advocating for that.
next to the Dolphins.
No,
Like,
no,
oh,
no.
you only got there because of this. We want the
No.
smoke. So,
Yeah. But
if
with
you're
all the
gonna,
questions we have and everything, because we don't know what it is yet,
yeah.
right? Like, we're not used to losing the
And
offseason.
Matt
It's
Castle
hard.
almost got them to the playoffs that year too. You remember they went 11-5 as well, and we just had the tiebreaker. Like they got real close. Somebody said something in the chat. This guy, I love Omar. We all love Omar.
Yeah, actually, you can go follow me on, you know,
We
I
all
got no
love
problem
Omar.
with Omar. It's not. I only responded to personal shots. It's not personal for me with Omar.
Are they doing other teams too? Yeah, they're doing the NFC East in season.
Yeah, the Giants are on it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's gonna be a good one. Like, do you remember? Did you watch? You watched it, right? Do you remember
It's the
how?
dumbest thing that a franchise has ever done to do it, like
Oh,
during the draft. Like, are you kidding me?
bro, when that owner said, like, if Saquon goes to the Eagles, and then not only does he go to the Eagles, they win the Super Bowl. I think all of us thought, like, wow, I wonder what the conversation.
Or what about the GM's son? You got to take Jaden Daniels, Dad. Whatever you got to do, you got to go up and take. And he's like,
he
no,
was
we'll be
right.
fine.
And he was right, eh? And now but I am worried they're gonna ruin my boy Jackson.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, Bills, I am hoping 9-8, baby. Let's go, please.
So now, we got the schedule and all that stuff is out. Obviously, Las Vegas, for some reason, has the points for all 17 games. I think the Dolphins are favored in like 6 games. Again, things could change, but Buffalo is favorited in all of their games. All of them. So again, I retweeted that with that little raccoon again going, good.
Yeah, because it never works out that way, eh?
Yeah, man. Like, give them. And I talked about this where, we go into certain seasons with high expectations, right? 2008, we win the division. High expectations, crap the bed in 2009. 2016, we make the playoffs. High expectation. 2023, one of the best offenses in the NFL. High expectation. I'm going into 2025 and I want the media, like one person had us, Cleveland, and I forgot, the Saints going 4-13. Like we're tied for the worst record, which at that point, cool. We get one of the best quarterbacks in the draft, whatever. But like no one has expectations for the Dolphins. Good.
Yeah.
I don't want expectations.
I think that's because we probably had, other than when we knew we were tanking heading into that first season with Flores, we've probably had one of the worst off seasons we can remember. Like the draft, I thought was a win, and I think the schedule release was a win. But beside that, we've taken a whole bunch of L's across the board from the Ramsey situation to the Tyreek situation to Armstead and Calais leaving. You know what I mean? And so I've said this before. Every year we go in with these high expectations because we have great off seasons. We look at that roster, we're like, oh my God, here we go. And it's gotten better, the roster, every year. Is this the year where we all pretty much have the lowest expectations we've had since the tanking year? Is this the year where they actually surprise us? Doesn't win when we win the Super Bowl in the off season. Now we're one of the losers of the offseason. If people want to, I'm not saying we are, but some people are grading us as losers this offseason, right? Not big winners. Does that mean, the roles are going to reverse? Yeah.
Exactly. Cap says, I need to see where we're at week 8. Yeah, normally it's like the first 4 weeks, even with a team that has still, we still have our offensive coordinator technically and our defensive coordinator. It's still after week 4 is where you kind of see where the NFL is. So yeah, for me, it's like week 5. Once we get to week 5, you can really get an idea of what the NFL is going to look like. But yeah, week 8, you get that midseason point and you really could see who's doing what.
You'll know how healthy your line is. Cause I said, if this line stays healthy with the additions of Daniels and Svainaya, I think it's going to be a top 15 line. I think this running game get back to 2023. That line's healthy. Okay. If specifically the corner room, does enough, whether it's Storm Duck rising the occasion, they add someone, whatever, if they do enough to make us at ease with that position and Tua stays healthy and we don't start off bad, so Tyreek is in a good mood, we could have something. But look at all the ifs I just named. I need 2 hands. It's crazy.
Jeff said, what is the most important one thing that needs to happen this season? Health. We have health and the trenches to me. Like, we have to stay healthy, man. That's what killed 2023. You know, we fell apart. And it was after, I think it was after the Jets game, because that's when we lost Holland and we lost Phillips. Then we lost so many players towards the second. We started 8-3.
Yeah.
Like, are you kidding me right now?
And just to what Cam said, he said NFL Network's Cam Wolf reports Dolphins assistant head coach, Eric Studesville, said the team is repairing. I can tell you 110% with confirmation that McDaniel sat down Jalen Wright and Devon Achane, and this was before free agency. He sat them down and he said, you guys are going to be the best running back duo in the NFL this year. So he's saying that to his play. He sat them both down and said that. So, and I can confirm that 110%. So that's why I'm not surprised they fixed this interior, because I think they want to get back to running the ball. And a little tidbit, I think they're going to be going to a little bit more 11 personnel, because when you look at us out of 11 personnel, we are one of the most efficient and we are at our highest potency in 11 personnel. When you break down the production from each personnel grouping, 11 personnel is actually, and we run a lot of 12 and 21, right? So apparently they want to instill a lot more, and I think that's why they brought in like Farrell Brown and stuff.
Going to be very, very interesting. Next topic on the agenda: NFL decides to not ban the tush push, which, of course, supposedly Kelsey coming in, Jason Kelsey, really tipped the scales. And the Dolphins are one of the teams that said, nah, keep it.
Yeah.
Which
but
is
didn't it make headway? It got more votes this time around than it did last year, if I remember correctly, right?
They needed 24 and they got 20. It was 20 yes to ban it, 10 no. And the Dolphins, the only East team that wanted to ban it was the Bills.
Well, that's interesting, because you think
they'd have a lot of Bill fans are coming out saying, good, it didn't get banned. Well, your team tried to ban it.
Well, you know what's crazy? You would think they have the personnel to actually run that. Right, with Josh Allen. He's bigger than Hurts, right? So he can stretch further and get more yards. And he's proven his body can take a little bit of a beating, pause. So they've proven they can do that. I actually think it's good on us. And you know what? I talked about this. Let me throw this by you. I don't know if you heard me say this. Were they playing nice because the NFL and everyone played nice with them over the cheat motion?
Scratch my back, I'll scratch yours type situation.
That's what I was like. That makes sense if you actually think about it. Shanahan and all of his buddies immediately came out to support it. So it did, and I know there were a few teams that weren't happy with it. Hell, there was a content creator who used to be around that used to say we were breaking the rules, right? You remember that? So, and maybe it was one of those things, Doug, like you said, you guys scratched our back. Okay, so we'll take care of you. Even though, like you said, we got no reason. We've never ran it before. Right? So
they're never gonna take Tua and just ram into the offensive line like
oh my god, just put in Phillips and Chubb in a wishbone and they pick up Tua and they just ram them through. There you go.
Keep doing it. Concussion. They're like, we need this first. We're going to hell.
Yeah, we are.
But I think honestly, when somebody figures it out, which it shouldn't, if the defense was allowed to push as the offense is, I think it would be stopped. But someone's going to figure it out, and then when somebody figures out, it's just going to go. It's like the Wildcat. As soon as it's the NFL in general. There's this new hot thing. Someone figures it out, and then it goes away.
Yeah, like the Wildcat.
Because Jalen Hurts isn't Josh Allen. Like the Bills should be running it. Because like you said, Josh Allen is a huge human being. Like, that's why it's hard to tackle that guy. And that's why a lot of these small corners will avoid tackling him. Because it's like Ben Roethlisberger, but not fat.
And and if he drops his shoulder, like, oh, bro, you might feel it. You thought that Jets defender felt it with Tua. Imagine that, man, building up the momentum, trucking you over the middle. I mean, your family tree's probably going to feel that and rattle some apples off of it, right? Like, so.
Oh my goodness. What did Kevin say here? This was interesting. Slowick will take the overthinking play calls.
See, this is what I'm interested in because I don't think this was talked about enough. Did you notice last year they went and got Joe Mixon right last year in Houston, and he had his tension with CJ. They became much more of like a run team last year. Like they were kind of taking the ball out of CJ's hands, and I think that's what led to that. That separation. Obviously, they got in an argument during the draft meeting, and that started all off. But I wouldn't. I think Darrell Bevell should be. I've said this since year one when people called me crazy because McDaniel had only been at the helm for a couple weeks. I was like, yo, this guy doesn't look like he knows what he's doing calling the plays. It should be Darrell Bevell. Like he's literally played calls in the Super Bowl and won a Super Bowl. Russell Wilson was a top 5 quarterback under him and never returned to that. You remember Marshawn Lynch, how good he was with Darrell Bevell? Like, we all know they should have gave the ball to Marshawn Lynch to run that in, not let Russell throw that interception, right? But I think there were politics there. I don't think they wanted him to get the MVP because of what was going on, right? But I think Darrell Bevell should be the play caller. In my opinion, I don't know what you think, but that's where I'm at.
When there was a chance of him going to Oakland, I was like, they need to do it. Like, no offense to Frank Smith, but really, what are you doing? They should have let Frank Smith go, take Bevell, made him the OC so he couldn't leave, and then just have. But they, from what I heard, is they just really love his connection with the quarterbacks, and they want him to be that. So that's why they brought Slowick in. But hey, he's still here. So,
and he got the connection to the Niners, right? They take it. People haven't learned it yet. Like who was the first? Remember when McDaniel got here? Who was the first guy he signed? Salvin Ahmed on the tender. I'm talking about player on the tender, right? Because they drafted him in San Francisco, and then who was the guy he brought over here? Like you said, Embry and Welker, guys with. If you guys haven't realized, like even in the NFL, relationships make the world go round, and even guys who some of you fans feel, why is this guy on the roster? Sometimes you got to follow the relationship path, and that'll give you the answer. Like at the end of the day, you can hate it or love it, but loyalty is a real thing, and a lot of these guys will take care of the people they're loyal to. So it is what it is, right? That's why Garfinkel has as much power as he does.
So why hasn't Darrell Bevell been promoted? I think it's because of the connection with the quarterbacks. They want him to focus on the quarterbacks because he goes to OC. He's got to take care of all of it, not just.
And McDaniel don't want to, and you'd have to get rid of Frank Smith basically. And I've been told privately, how Shanahan was hiding McDaniel? That's the same thing they kind of do with Frank Smith. Like they really view Frank Smith in a high regard. He's really a big part of the game planning. The week leading up, like the way Shanahan viewed McDaniel is apparently the way McDaniel views Frank Smith. Take that for what it's worth.
Very interesting. I can't say his name. I can, but I have to listen to it first. So I'm just gonna say Jonah, because I'll say Saveanea, and that's not the right way to say it. It's close enough. Holding out for a fully guaranteed deal, and I hinted at this before because Schwessinger and Higgins, they got fully guaranteed deals for second round picks. Now he's there though, right? Like he's training and he's on the field, right? He's just hasn't signed yet.
Yeah. Like, have you seen what Shamar Stewart is doing in Cincinnati?
Oh my God. See, that's
he's like
different.
Standing there like
he's standing like Jonah's practicing, and I would be shocked if Jonah's not doing work on Tuesday. But you traded up for him.
That's the thing. That's where he's got you kind of by the short and curls is you went up and actually traded for him, and he's picked in the 30s, right? What was Carson Schwessinger, 33?
Yeah, he was the first in the second round.
What was Higgins? 30. He was between 34 and
35, 36.
So like right there.
And then it was like Schwessinger, then another one went, then it was Higgins, then 2 went, and then it was Jonah.
And here's
I love you guys for this, for helping me, but you guys got to realize something. I'm dyslexic. So you spelling it out how to say it ain't going to help me. I got to hear it. So don't worry, I'll get it. I got a Fatu, Melo Fatu, and I got Noeg Benogany. It's just gonna take me a hot second. I just gotta listen to it over and over again.
So here, I'll give my shot at it. Savaya Naya, he's represented by I Am Athlete. Oh, sorry, no, Athletes First. Sorry, my bad. I Am Athlete. I always get those two confused. Athletes First. He's represented by Athletes First. And we know how that's gone, Greer's relationship
with the Dolphins,
with Athletes First, right? And we know they make sure their guys get paid. Like, I'm pretty sure Derek Harmon is Athletes First.
Let me look up. Because I want to know.
He got fully guaranteed.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Jeff, who backed the Wilson decision? I think, again, you got to follow tendencies. So go back to San Francisco. Remember the Mac Jones and the Trey Lance draft? Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. McDaniel convinced a lot of those people in the room Trey Lance was the guy. So when you look at Trey Lance, when you look at Zach Wilson, you can see a lot of similarities to their game, trying to create out of structure, a big arm, a little athleticism to them, a little wiggle and stuff. You could see that's what it is. And I had a great conversation. Shout out to my boy Kevin Dern. He turned the light bulb on. You got to go back to what started it all. Jake Plummer. And you look at Zach Wilson's game, and there's a lot of Jake Plummer bones to Zach Wilson's game, because Jake Plummer was the original inception of all this. And when you look at Zach Wilson, you can see, okay, I see the vision here, but the thing is, Jake Plummer could actually sit in the pocket and make plays from structure consistently, whereas Zach Wilson, since BYU, hasn't proven he can do that. And I know I say this all the time, Doug, but I really want Dolphin fans to really listen to me on this one. Take Sean Payton and what he did. Don't take that with a grain of salt. Actually take that in and think about it, okay? He hated Russell Wilson because Russell Wilson, all he does is create out of structure. Jarrett Stidham is less talented from an arm and athletic standpoint, but for the second year in a row, they made him the highest paid backup quarterback in the NFL, and they let the more physically gifted and talented Zach Wilson walk. What does that tell me? Sean Payton's like, if Bo goes down, I trust Jarrett to run from this offense and structure more than I do Zach, even with all those gifts. And to me, and I know you read it on your channel. I watched your show about the oppressors, Doug. I know you were. Daryl Bevell didn't exactly he basically said, we're rebuilding this guy from the ground up. We got to start with the feet. They're rebuilding this guy from the ground up. What was the point? Just draft Quinn Ewers. Quinn Ewers, I know you watched the Gruden camp, right? Quinn Ewers, what did he say in the Gruden camp? All the NFL teams said I needed to change my footwork. I've been working on my footwork all offseason. So, I mean, he's already a step ahead of Zach Wilson if you really want to go there. Like, I saw your reaction. You were like, what did you say? You're like, yes, that's an actual real quote or something like that.
I had to read it because he was like, right. I'm like, I'm reading this and I look like a big idiot. People are like, is Doug having a stroke? I'm like, no, I'm reading what he's saying. And he's like, right. Yeah, right. Like, oh my God. Finn Posse. Yeah, man. We need to re-sign Win, one injury away from Liam starting. Yeah. Him or Sheriffs or something. They need depth on this team is terrifying because I'm just getting PTSD of 2023. They desperately need to deal with that. But yeah, going back to Jonah, it was 33 was Carson, 34 was Jaden Higgins. Okay. Then you had 35 was Nick Emanwari, 38 was Quinshawn Junkins, and then Jonah.
I bet you Emanwari and Quinshawn haven't signed their deals yet.
I don't think so. Let me see. Let me see if I can get a list. NFL rookie contracts.
Yeah, I don't think they have.
No.
The value's known, but yeah, they haven't. I'm looking at him on over the cap. There's no guaranteed money or anything yet. He hasn't signed it yet.
And Jonah at 37, you're looking at on Spot Track, the value is 11.3. Yeah.
Let's
give him 11.
Well, I think the problem you're going to run into is, Doug, how many veterans have been around the league and they can't even get that they can't even get that much guaranteed over 3 years. I actually kind of bring it back to what we were talking about earlier with Sam Bradford. Remember how the veterans got a big, this is what I think is going to happen. The new CBA is going to come up, and this is going to be a legitimate discussion. Do we go to fully guaranteed? Because the way, dude, if we start getting fully guaranteed in the first 40 picks in 2025, the first 40 picks are getting fully guaranteed money. Doug, in 3 years, what are all the first 3 rounds going to be getting guaranteed picks? And then where are we going to be in 5 years? Right?
It's gonna get real interesting the
and they
way
got
this
an
whole thing's
argument,
gonna pan out.
with the CTE stuff. Did you ever watch Ballers?
I wanted to.
Rock?
I caught like a few episodes. I wanted to.
I watched its original run. I actually recently just watched it through a second time,
Mm.
and the whole like 4th and 5th season basically touches on this subject of the Rock trying to get old, like his character trying to get old players and new players taken care of with lifetime health insurance. And I think they're going to say, if you're not going to give us fully guaranteed money, give us lifetime health or something for everything that these guys are dealing with. Because you know what's another thing, Doug?
Mm-hmm.
I know you've noticed it over the last 10 years. And really the linebacker, Chris Borland, he kind of started the retiring early trend, right? Because then didn't Patrick Willis follow him not long after? He was only like 31 or something like that, right? And I think that's what players are saying. Hey, okay, you don't want to fully guarantee us. You don't want to give us health insurance. All right, we're going to make our money up until 30, 31, and then peace, we're out. You know?
Marcellus said thought draft pick money was already allocated.
What it is. You know what it is. You know that's how Doug knew Savai and I is about to get 11.3. You can go look. Amanda Warrior's getting the same range, but if you go look at them, it'll tell you nothing is guaranteed yet because nothing is signed because they want fully guaranteed.
Yeah, and it will affect because it's only the first 51 contracts go against the cap, is allocated towards the cap. But if it becomes a fully guaranteed contract, that kind of changes the money and where that the 51 start to add up.
And Doug, think about this in 5 years. What if you're having to now play with and tinker your cap because you're having to fully guaranteed 4th and 5th round picks? And who knows what those guys are going to end up being?
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. Appreciate both you guys keeping up, fins up. Appreciate you being a member for 46 months.
I hope you're having good travels, Eric B. And let me know how Rakim is doing. Eric B and Rakim, for all you people who don't know.
What was I going to say to you? I want to talk about this. We didn't have it on the list, but it's something I want to pick your brain about. The assistants talking. Like I said before, I going into the season, I'm very just like, 8 wins. That's where my mind's at. I'm like 8 wins, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But hearing Weaver talk and hearing him being like, we didn't get enough turnovers last year. We need to get more turnovers so the offense has more chances, and we need this to happen. And, hey, our corners aren't good. Well, we have to get after the quarterback. And I'm like, now I see why the defensive players and some of the players in the locker room like Weaver so much. He knows how to talk, and it gave me a little hopium. It gave me a little bit of hopium where I went from 8 wins to now I'm at like 9, 10 wins. I'm like, all right. Did you pick up anything? Like even Prince, the wide receiver coach, talking about Tyreek, and I'm talking to him. He's talking to me. He's here. He's working. I'm like, all right, Tyreek. I'm not mad at you anymore. But I'm like, what else are they going to say? Like, is there anything you picked up from what these coaches said?
I thought it was interesting that he threw out like, he took him out to dinner and everything too, right? Like, I thought that was. I don't see here where I'm at, because this is what the situation has led us to. Are you trying to build back up any trade value? I mean, you did the video where you went over all the numbers, right? And how much you could actually freed up. And that's where I'm kind of like, all right, is he actually buying in? I mean, I know Cap for Life said earlier, we got to wait till week 8. I mean, I'm taking that stance with Tyreek alone, let alone the team. Like, where's this guy's mind going to be at week 8? I thought, what's interesting, Weaver pretty much closed the door and made sure everyone know Ramsey ain't coming back, right?
Yeah.
And there's really no doubt about that. But, dude, I think Cater's going to get more boundary work, and it sounds like when you listen to the corner coach talk, when you listen to Weaver talk, it sounds like they are going to be relying on a little bit of this youth movement. And I'm kind of tempering my expectations on a big splash now.
Mm,
I don't know. What do you think?
I think they'll go for one, whether it's Razul or whether it's Asante Samuel Jr. It did make me feel comfortable that they're still keeping in touch with them. Like when
Mhm.
Razul Douglas left the Miami after they offered him a contract, and where did he go? Washington, I think, or he went to Seattle to visit with them.
And
And
he
then
didn't sign one. Yeah.
yeah, because he probably is like, oh, I'm worth this. And everyone else is like, listen, my man, you're worth this. Like,
Yeah.
you're not worth this. And he's like probably pouting. And then, and again, nobody, I said this in one of my videos. You have OTAs for the next couple of weeks, then you have mandatory minicamp, and then they have a month off. That's when they'll get signed. None of these veterans want to be in OTAs or mandatory minicamp. They'll
Yeah.
get ready for training camp, and that's it. So that's where you'll see it. And I think they'll pick one of them. I think they're keeping in touch with Santi Samuel Jr., seeing how his neck's doing. I would prefer him. I think he is better than Razul. But again, that neck injury scares the crap out of me. But I'd like two. Give me two and a safety, and then I feel 1,000% better going into the season. But
I don't think they're adding another safety, dude. I think they're rolling
no,
with
they like
Maxi
their
and
guys.
Melifanu. But I agree with you. And like, if you could tell me Asante Samuel and I don't have to worry about the neck issue, I'm down. The problem is you don't play around with the neck, man. And like in such a contact sport where this guy's going to be constantly coming downhill and
Mm-hmm.
leading, basically leading with his helmet, or leading with his shoulder, which again, the neck area, like that's a scary thought of, man, all it takes is the wrong impact, like a helmet on
Mm-hmm.
helmet. And are we right back to square one? And dude, I think they're going to find another a gem in this UDFA class. I really think they think BJ Adams is going to be a year one contributor. I honestly do.
I will say that, as much as I crap on Gear and I wanted Greer and I wanted him gone, he is good at finding those gems like Cater and like Nick Needham and all these guys. So
Yeah.
Marcellus says, if you have a strong front seven, you can
Yeah.
have a weak corner, right? To a certain extent, because if your corners are weak physically as well and they can't jam at the line of scrimmage, you just throw a lot of, slants and quick ins, and
All the
if they
underneath
can't
stuff.
tackle, it will get
Yeah.
torn up. It's like when we were blitzing under Flores, and once people picked up on how to stop it, that's what they were doing. They were
But
just
I
throwing
mean,
quick slants.
but that's essentially the idea. Like you look about it, and I did a video on this. You look at what Weaver did under McDonald with the Ravens, and what they did kind of fits exactly what Philly did and how they beat Kansas City, right? You're only
Mm,
trying to send four and drop as many back in coverage to take away all the options as much as possible. Because if you're constantly getting home with four, man, that's going to be it's going to be real tough to beat that consistently. And I think that's the idea. I mean, let's put it this way. Honestly, and I'll say this. I think if they would have signed Greenlaw
mm,
and Joey Bosa would have said, "Hey, I will come to you," I think they would have added both because I still think they would have, even if Calais would have came back. I still
yeah.
think they were. I heard they were still taking Grant at 13. This is the idea. They're trying to throw a front set. They're trying to make one of the best front sevens so they can be a little bit. The days of spending heavy on the back end are done under Weaver. We are transitioning from building from the back to the front.
Mhm.
Now we're building from the front to the back.
Because Weaver
Where we're at.
finally, I think what's happening is last year Weaver came in and he had Fangio's guys, and then Fangio came in, he had Boyer's guys.
Yeah,
I think now Weaver is getting his guys and he's
yeah,
installing his philosophy, which
yeah,
is he's a defensive line coach. We got to
yeah,
start up front. I need the big boys, Jalen
yeah,
Phillips and you know, Jordan and
yeah,
all these guys,
yeah.
big guys up front. I still want one more. Still makes me
But
nervous that
dude,
we have Sealer and then it's like,
but you saw what he did with Matabuki.
yeah.
And Kenneth Grant's a way better. I keep telling people his ceiling is elite athletic version of Vita Vea. Like I kept telling people, stop pitching home as a 2-down guy in a zero tech. You know, some of his best plays came at 4-eye, you know, shading a shoulder, you know, get play 3 tech. You know, I think him and Sealer, dude. Like I said, Savaianaya has a higher ceiling than Hunt. And remember, when Hunt got drafted, right? You know, when I was on the Tuesday panel, they asked me, "Hey, what is he?" I said, "He's going to be an all-pro Pro Bowl guard. He ended up going to the Pro Bowl last year." I think Savaianaya has a higher ceiling than Hunt. I think Grant has a higher ceiling than Wilkins. So all of you who loved Wilkins and were heartbroken when he left, give it 2 to 3 years. You're going to be in love with this kid, and you're all going to be in Kenneth Grant jerseys.
And like you said, with the whole idea and the whole scheme now is get that pressure with the 4, drop everyone back. You got Terrell Dotson, who led the team in interceptions last year. Like,
dude, think about this. Yo, Sealer and Grant in the middle, Doug. And then look at the rotation off their shoulders between Chop, Phillips, and Chubb. Throw Quentin Bell in there. What if Mo Kamara takes a step? Hey, are we going to see Grayson Murphy, who had the highest pressure rate in that draft class coming out? You know, like Cam Good, is he finally going to, you know, we've been stashing you for a couple of years and you got injured. Are you finally going to are we going to reap some rewards of that investment? Like, we got a crazy rotation at the front, if you think about it, man. And like you said, man, if they added one more guy and if they could have found a way to bring back Calais, I would sit up here right now and tell you, defensively, we have the best front in the NFL. I would be saying that right now.
Watching Calais play at, what was he, 39 last year or 38?
Yeah, 38, 39.
And just how many times that man got in the backfield. And it's not like he was just like in the backfield, like somebody missed a block and he kind of like, he would like, dive into the backfield, like at that age. Like, that's ridiculous. And everyone was clamoring, we need him back. Like, when have you ever heard a fan base like, we need this 39-year-old defensive lineman back? It's like, he brought a lot, man. He brought a lot to this team.
Yeah, man. And he was like, I think a lot of us viewed him as a calming factor too.
Yeah.
Like, we knew, like, okay, if he's in the locker room, if this gets out of hand, he's going to step in and say, yo, enough of this. Like, that's kind of why I'm excited about Bradley Chubb coming back, and they found a way to make it work. You know, he was the most vocal about Tyreek quitting on us. And we know what the deal was. He was speaking for a lot of people who didn't want to speak publicly. And then Doug, he took that big of a pay cut to come back. Like, bro, tell me you're bought in. I love that, Bradley. Yeah. I hope Chubb has a good year and he gets another deal, because I hope, this is what I hope. I hope Chubb and Phillips have great years to the point where they come to, hey, Doug, are we going to roll the dice on a guy who's injured all the time in Phillips? Or are we going to pay Chubb a little bit less because he's a little older and he's been a good soldier? Like, that would be a great problem to have. But I think Chubb, and I've said this, if Tyreek gets out of line, dude, I wouldn't be shocked if Chubb is the one that steps to him and says, yo, enough, cut it out, right? Like, you saw the picture at the F1. First of all, notice how Tyreek wasn't there this year. But number two, you saw the picture with, Chubb. What was it? Chubb, Sealer, Tua, Paul, and one other person, right?
Yeah, it was like the captains, essentially. Who's going to be the captains of the team? Yeah.
Which I'm shocked Brewer isn't instead of Paul, because he seems like he's a really good leader.
Yeah,
just from the interviews and stuff.
Did you see how, like, they post? I think it was today. They posted images of them, warming up. See how lean Chubb looks?
Yeah,
I think he's right.
He looks good.
And it sucks because the last time we saw Chubb on the field for us, he blocked me. Just so you know, I must have said something.
You've never said anything bad about him, have you?
I think I said.
Did Gesicki block you too?
Yeah, Gesicki did block me a while ago.
I think block he can throw is on Twitter.
I think it's because I said a while back when the potential of getting Crosby, I was like, we can move on from Chubb and get Crosby. I don't think he but he didn't block me until like 3 months after I said that. So,
but that's
if he's watching this, I'm about to sing your praise, Bradley, because I think the last time we saw Bradley Chubb, he had the Tennessee Titan game, which unfortunately he was probably the main reason we lost that game, because we stopped him on, 3rd and long, pops his helmet off. They got the first down. They kicked the field goal, and all of a sudden it became a different game. And then, unfortunately, he was still in the freaking game against the Ravens and blew his knee out. I
Yeah.
think he's on a revenge tour. I think him and somebody else are on a revenge tour. And I got a video coming out tomorrow talking about who that other person is on a revenge
Good.
tour.
Saturday content, baby. Gotta love
Hell
it.
yeah, because I kept wanting to talk about it, but then things kept, how it is. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I got this planned. The Miami Dolphins preseason schedule. I'm like, oh, I gotta talk about that. That's kind of important. The last thing we'll talk about before we get out of here, we hit the 1 hour mark. That preseason schedule. The Dolphins are going to be having joint practice with all 4
Mhm.
of those teams. And Alan Poupart said something very interesting, how he broke it down, because you're only allowed to have joint practice 4 times. So the way it's laid out, they play Chicago on a Sunday, they play Detroit on a Saturday, then they play the Jaguars on a Saturday. He was saying they'll play 1 joint practice, then play the game. Then they'll go to Detroit, take 2 days off, 2 joint practices with Detroit,
Mm.
play the game, and then 1 joint practice with the Jaguars, and then
Jags.
play the game, which is
And
interesting.
were you shocked that? Correct me if I'm wrong, Doug. When did they start doing
1 o'clock
1 p.m.?
games.
Yeah, I
It's
was like,
normally a
what?
Thursday. It's normally a Friday,
Yeah, or
Thursday, Friday, or
Saturday night.
Saturday at
Yeah, it's
7
Friday or
o'clock.
Saturday for us usually at like 7 or 8. Yeah, yeah. I was
Also,
like,
we
that's weird.
normally face the Panthers, the Saints, the
Yeah, yeah.
Falcons. Why are we going up
Closer.
to
Yeah, yeah,
Detroit?
yeah.
It's so weird.
Well, didn't we go to Chicago like 4 or 5 years ago
We
when
might
Justin
have.
Fields was there? Remember? I'm
Yes,
pretty
yes,
sure
yes,
we went
yes.
there, and then we played them that year too, right?
And so people think that's why we're not facing the Saints and the Bucks and all them, because we're playing them, but it's
It kind of
interesting.
sucks because last year I really had fun at the joint practices with the Falcons and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And like if I want to go to Miami for a joint practice this year,
Just
I
one.
only get 1 with
Mhm.
Jacksonville. Like that kind of sucks. You know what I mean? Because really, joint practices, yeah, like go to all practices. I'm not saying don't go,
Yeah.
but joint practices are where a little fire comes out of the belly, and like
I'll say this. I went to the
you went
joint
to one
practice.
last year, right?
Yeah, I went to the joint practice for the Washington Commanders.
Mm-hmm.
It was cool. I hated every second of it though, because I had the
Really?
defense here. I had the offense here. I had the
Oh,
defense there.
on the other
So I'm
side.
like trying
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah, yeah,
focus on, but what's going on there? Interception.
yeah, yeah.
Who? Oh
Yeah.
God. Oh, okay. And it was just
Yeah.
way too much for my brain to
No.
um
No, I gotta say this. I'll be the first one. Shout out to Travis Wingfield. Man, that guy has those consistent play-by-play updates, and
mhm.
I don't know how he does it without a crystal ball knowing what's gonna come. Because, like, holy, that guy, he doesn't even need to write an article. He has probably the longest play-by-play thread live. It's like,
And he's so
man,
articulate. Like I
I
loved
know,
reading his play-by-play. Like,
and he's
oh,
so
like crisp.
quick, bro.
Yeah. The thing I want to talk about that we'll get out of here is this right here, right? Week 1 preseason, Dolphins at Chicago, 1 o'clock on Sunday, Saints at Chargers, 4 o'clock. I think this is going to be nationally televised
Oh, really?
for people like us who can't get it. We're not in, Fort Lauderdale, Miami area. That might be nationally televised.
What do you usually watch your preseason games
The
off?
NFL, the
Yeah,
way
yeah,
we
yeah,
watch film.
yeah, yeah.
Th
Exactly. Yeah, yeah.
this one probably not, because there's a ton of 1 o'clock games, and then week 3, um, possibly 7:30. But I
Hmm.
just thought that was we might get to see that week 1 preseason game.
I'm surprised they're not doing the Jacksonville Miami at night because of the heat in August. At
Mm,
least it would be a little cooler at night. I'm actually shocked by that. That's the one that surprises me probably the most. Is that
seriously.
that they didn't? No, hey, I mean, do your thing.
But yeah, we're gonna get out of here. Thanks for hanging out. We will see you next Wednesday over on Reason's channel.
Yes,
Reason,
sir.
you got anything going on? I know we got OTAs starting next week.
Yeah,
It's the 27th, 28th, and the 30th. So we'll talk about OTAs on Wednesday. You got anything going on besides that?
I got a video coming out on Sunday actually, and then yeah, next week will be normal schedule. Me and you will probably be like 5 days a week. You guys will be able to catch us. So, and I think next Tuesday I'll have um Richmond and ball game on, and then after that show I will be going on a yet to be announced podcast. So yeah, a lot of content coming up over the next week, just like you, brother.
Go check them out. Hit that subscribe button. We will see you on a Wednesday. Like usual, stay classy. Fins up.